The sound is wrong. It's not the wind. It's not the fire sinking to embers. It is a single, sharp crack in the darkness. Your eyes remain closed. Your body is still, muscles slack with the weight of sleep. But you're not asleep. Not fully. One part of your mind is a shard of ice in a warm sea, alert and cold, and listening. The sound came from the tree line, where the shadows are deepest, where things hunt. Another sound, a pebble skittering down the rock face. Closer this time. You do not move. You do not breathe. You only listen with a part of your brain that never truly rests. That was you, 100,000 years ago. And tonight, when you lie down in a hotel room 1,000 miles from home, you will do it again. You will call it a bad night's sleep. Your brain will call it survival. Your ancestor Ash had been walking for 3 days. The seasons were turning, and the herd they followed had moved faster than expected. Their own small group was exposed, traveling through a valley they did not know. Every rock formation was unfamiliar. The scent of the air was strange, thick with the smell of damp pine and animals whose tracks they didn't recognize. This was not their territory. There was no safety here. At dusk, they found a shallow overhang of rock. Not a true cave, but enough to offer shelter from the wind. It was new. It was untested. As the others settled by the low fire, nursing aching feet, Ash felt the familiar tension, a low hum of anxiety that lived just beneath the skin. It wasn't fear, exactly. It was vigilance. Their eyes scanned the ridgeline, the dense forest, the game trails that vanished into the twilight. They were committing the landscape to memory, noting escape routes, searching for threats. Where would danger come from? Sleep did not come easily. The ground was hard, but that wasn't it. The air was cold, but they were used to the cold. The problem was the novelty, the newness of it all. Every soft hoot of an owl, every rustle of leaves was an uncatalogued sound. At home, in their familiar shelter, the brain can filter these things out. It knows the sound of a harmless rock badger scurrying past. It knows the pattern of the wind in a particular tree. Here, every sound was a question mark. Every question mark could be a predator. So as Ash finally drifted off, a part of their brain refused to follow. It stood guard. For decades, scientists called this the first night effect. It's a stubborn, universal human experience. The first night sleeping in any new place, a friend's house, a dorm room, a hotel, is almost always worse than the second. The sleep is lighter, more broken. For a long time, it was just a curiosity, a quirk of our psychology. But then, researchers at Brown University decided to look closer. In 2016, a team led by Yuka Sasaki had people sleep in their lab for the first time, all while scanning their brains with advanced imaging techniques. What they found was remarkable. On that first night, the two halves of the brain were not equally asleep. The left hemisphere remained stubbornly, suspiciously, more awake. It was in a state of light surveillance, a shallow slumber, while the right hemisphere slept more deeply. The brain was intentionally keeping one half on watch. Why would it do that? Ash knows why. In the deepest part of the night, the fire is little more than a pile of glowing coals. The cold has settled into the valley, and that is when the sound comes. A single, dry twig snapping under a heavy paw. It's a tiny sound, one that a deeply sleeping mind would easily ignore. But Ash's mind is not deeply sleeping. The night watch, the vigilant left hemisphere, catches it instantly. The signal is sent. Not enough to jolt them fully awake. Not yet. That would be too risky. A sudden movement could trigger an attack. Instead, it's a subtle shift. The rhythm of their breathing changes. Their muscles lose their slack. Without opening their eyes, Ash is suddenly, completely aware. The part of their brain that was on duty has woken the rest of the system. Another sound follows, the soft scrape of a claw on stone. It's a cave lion. Stalking the edge of the camp, its pale eyes adjusting to the low light of the embers. This is the entire purpose of the first night effect. Researchers like Masako Tamaki, continuing the work at Brown, found that this half-awake hemisphere isn't just listening. It's listening for anything that deviates from the pattern. And it responds faster. It can pull you from sleep far more quickly in response to an unexpected noise. It is a neurological tripwire, perfected over millions of years of evolution. You see the same strategy elsewhere in nature. Niels Rattenborg of the Max Planck Institute has observed how mallard ducks sleep in a row. The ducks on the vulnerable ends of the row keep one eye open, the one facing away from the group, pointed toward potential danger. The hemisphere of the brain connected to that open eye stays awake, scanning. Dolphins and whales do it too, sleeping with one half of their brain at a time to remain conscious enough to breathe and watch for sharks. Your brain, on the first night in a new place, treats you like the duck on the end of the row. It knows you are exposed, so it doesn't fully power down. The cave lion takes another step. It is patient, but it is not patient enough. Ash's half-awake brain has given them a head start. They stir, a deliberate, calculated movement. They reach out and touch the person sleeping beside them. A silent signal passes through the group. One by one, they begin to stir, not with panic, but with a quiet, practiced alertness. Ash finally opens their eyes. They grab a thick branch from near the fire pit, its end still hot. As the lion gathers itself to charge, they rise, and the others rise with them. A small band of shadows suddenly standing tall, brandishing sticks and stones. The element of surprise is gone. The risk for the predator has suddenly become too high. With a low snarl, the cat retreats back into the darkness. They do not go back to sleep. Not a real sleep. They sit with their backs to the rock wall until sunrise, listening. They survived. They survived because one hemisphere of one brain refused to trust the darkness of a new place. Here is the counterintuitive truth. That restless, frustrating, terrible night of sleep you have in a hotel room isn't a failure of your body. It is an extraordinary success. You feel groggy and irritable the next day, not because your brain malfunctioned, but because it performed its ancient duty flawlessly. It prioritized your safety over your comfort. The goal of that first night was never rest and recovery. The goal was to live to see the second night. The exhaustion you feel is the cost of that vigilance. Think of your last trip. You check into your hotel. The keycard beeps. You push the door open, and the scan begins. Your brain, the same brain as Ash's, notes everything. The unfamiliar smell of the cleaning products, the strange, low hum of the mini fridge, the faint sounds from the hallway, an elevator ding, a muffled television. You draw the curtains, but the light that bleeds around the edges is a different color than the light at home. You lie down in the strange bed. The sheets feel different. The pillows are the wrong density. Your body is tired from a day of travel, but your mind is buzzing. It's tracing the perimeter. It is building a new sound map. That rumble, is it thunder, or is it the trolley on the street below? That clicking, is it the heating system, or something else? Your brain doesn't know, so it treats every unknown sound as a potential threat. You toss, you turn, you check your phone. You think, I can't sleep. But that's not what's happening. Your right hemisphere is trying to sleep. But your left hemisphere is on guard duty, its ear pressed to the door of an unfamiliar cave, listening for predators. The frustration you feel is modern. The instinct is ancient. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a cave lion and a slamming car door. It only knows the sound is new and the place is not safe. Not yet. The sound is not a twig. It's the ice machine down the hall. But one half of your brain is awake, and it is listening.